Hello and welcome to this presentation. I'm Brandon Perry and I'm excited to be here with you today. The topic is religious affinity bias in the selection of a financial advisor. 66% of Americans believe that their financial planning needs improvement. And even though Americans say that having a financial advisor boosts their confidence, only 37% actually work with one. So while too few Americans are choosing to work with a financial advisor, even today we still don't have a good understanding of how this process works, and we don't have a good measuring stick for what factors are involved in the financial advisor selection process and the subsequent results. So how do clients choose a financial advisor? A couple things that I want to point out. First of all, the research focus is not concerned so much with how people should choose a financial advisor. It is focused more on how people do choose a financial advisor. So the first method is more of a prescriptive approach, and the second is more of a descriptive approach. And ultimately, the goal is that by understanding how people choose a financial advisor, we can be in a better place to show people how they should choose a financial advisor. So my research question is, does religious affinity bias influence choice in the selection of a financial advisor? The purpose of this study is to investigate the correlation between religious affinity bias and the selection of a financial advisor, and it seeks to establish preliminary findings into potential associations in the financial advisor selection process with the goal of enhancing self-awareness and improving long-term financial planning relationships. There are three themes that stood out while doing the literature review, and the first one is affinity. So affinity is simply that people favor those who are similar to themselves, and it's typically an unconscious bias, or often referred to as an implicit bias, which means that we're not totally aware that it's happening, even though it does happen. And Suverin 2022 notes, people may assume that they are not susceptible to biases and stereotypes. However, they cannot avoid engaging in them. The second theme of the literature review is religiosity. So religiosity, according to Dearden et al., is the quality or state of being religious or having a sense of religious feelings or devotions. And religiosity connects like-minded people. So it's common for two people with shared religious beliefs to be in the same religious network, and as a result of being in the same religious network and sharing the same religious beliefs, they form a relationship. And the third theme from the literature review is relationships. So relationships are based on interactions and are interdependent. And Lang and Balliet in 2015 note that interactions can be described through the equation of the interaction as a function of the interdependent structure and person A and person B. So every interaction would include three variables, which the interdependent structure can also be called the situation. And so it's the interplay of the situation as well as person A and person B in that situation. So this interaction, which is something that happens everywhere, every day, and may just be a small moment, is actually very complex, and it involves at least these three variables. So everything that person A brings to the table and everything that person B brings to the table and everything that's involved in the situation and how all of these three variables affect each other is what we call the interaction. And interactions are the basis for relationships. And so we, in terms of thinking about the financial advisor and the client, we, through these interactions, have the formation of a relationship. The theoretical framework for this study is the theory of implicit social cognition. So this is commonly referred to as implicit bias and was first termed by Greenwald and Banaji in 1995. And their original work proposed that responses, or are the result of unconscious constructs, C, produced by unidentified or inaccurately identified prior stimuli. So decisions, which are conscious actions, are the result of these unconscious beliefs or attitudes. And the results are that interactions and relationships are formed on these implicit constructs. So to break this down a little bit further, we have all of these experiences and ideas and beliefs and attitudes and opinions, and all of those constructs affect the decisions that we make. And so the decisions are ultimately the conscious results of everything that we've taken in prior to the result. And so the same works with relationships. We may think of relationships as simply, oh, I know this person, or I know who they are, and they know me. But relationships may form in ways that we don't fully comprehend. So we may not see all of the prior stimuli consciously that have played a role in the formation of this relationship. So this brings us to the two hypotheses, which are H1, shared religious beliefs will be positively correlated with the likelihood to accept an initial meeting with a financial advisor, and H2, that shared religious beliefs will be positively correlated with the likelihood to form a professional working relationship with a financial advisor. The research design and methodology for this study is to use primary data from a survey on Amazon Mechanical Turk and using two financial advisor profile vignettes, one which indicates shared religious beliefs and the other which doesn't. So which financial advisor an investor is more likely to choose becomes the binary dependent variable, and the shared religious beliefs, as indicated by attending the same church, is the independent variable. And then we'll do a t-test for significance. The implications of this study are, first, that the results may indicate no perceived association between religious affinity bias and the selection of a financial advisor, which in this case, the conclusion would be that religious affinity bias is not involved in the selection of a financial advisor. And hopefully there would be subsequent studies which would replicate the same results. And then there could be subsequent studies to test to see whether there are other variables that are positively associated with the selection of a financial advisor. Or the results may indicate a perceived association between religious affinity bias and the selection of a financial advisor, at which point the conclusion would be that religious affinity bias is or can be involved in the selection of a financial advisor. And hopefully there would be subsequent studies that indicate the same results. And at that point, there would be further studies to test for additional positively associated variables. And this is hopefully to lead us to a discussion around which factors help form a strong, healthy, and long-term financial advisor and client relationship. Ultimately, that's the goal here, is to understand not just the relationship while it exists, but how does the relationship form and what happens before the relationship forms, so that we can get a good idea of what all is going into that selection and how people make that selection now and then can make a better choice in the future. In summary, I'd like to review what we do and don't know so far about the financial advisor and client relationship. So first of all, we don't know how financial advisors and clients form relationships. And secondly, we don't know whether religious affinity bias plays a role in the formation of these relationships. What we do know is that some people have a sense of religious devotion, and that religious beliefs bring like-minded people together. And as a result of these shared beliefs bringing people together, we do see the formation of relationships based on similarities. So, first of all, affinity bias is perceived in human behavior. And since some people do have a feeling or sense of religious devotion, relationships form based off of these similarities. And how the financial advisor and client relationship forms is a process that we don't currently understand. So the basis for this study is to take what we do know about interactions and relationships and the formation of these relationships and apply that to what we might perceive in the formation of a financial advisor and client relationship. So hopefully this presentation has been enjoyable for you, and hopefully it makes more sense now where we're going with this study and why it's important. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and we'll see you next time.